Hello and welcome to the third lesson in this unit, and today we're talking about writing checks. Writing checks. So all I want you to be able to do is be able to write a proper check. So at some point in time, this is a skill that everyone in this room or everyone watching this video will have to do at some point. It's very, very hard to avoid writing checks at this particular time. Not everything takes credit cards or debit cards or cash. You still need to use checks from time to time. So the challenging part for this is translating words into numbers and numbers into words. So we're going to talk about what it looks like to write each of these out. So the first example here, for the first example, write each money value as a number. So we need to be able to decode what's written there for us. So I'm going to break it down. So I have 3,000. So that means that I know that, and you don't have to do this. I'll do it in the long way first. So 3,000, I know that I have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So I know I have 4 digits here, and this one will be a 3. Decoding after the comma here, 235. So it's just filling in 235. Now what this is really going to look like, 3,235. You're not going to need the underscores. Hopefully by the end of it, you'll be fairly comfortable. So next one, 700. So I know there's only going to be 3 digits here. So 700. So I know I have 708. So 708 means I only had 8 more added. So we have 708. So we're just looking at our place value. Okay, so this goes back to place value from Unit 1. That's why we went over and reviewed it. We reviewed a lot of things in Unit 1 that are used in this second unit. The next one's 56,000. 56,000. So ones, tens, hundreds. And if I want to write 56,000, I need 2 placeholders there. So 56,000. So that's the first part of it. 921. 921. So 56,921. All right. The next one, 11 million. So ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions. In this case, we have actually 11,695,000. So that goes in the next block of 3. So 695, 695, and I know this is my thousands. All right, and finally 460. So 460. So there we go, 11,695,460. So there is taking words and decoding it into the numeric value. Now we have to go back the other direction as well, especially with checks. So we need to write this out in words. So we break it up the same way. So here it's in the thousands. So I would write 15,000. I'm going to use a comma. And then say this component out loud, 438. So I would write exactly that. 438. Okay, 15,438. So you're just breaking it down and saying it out loud. So here starts in the thousands column. So I would start with 9,000, and I'm done with the thousands. So I put a comma. Then I go to the next grouping, and it would be 245, and I write out exactly what I say, 245. Now you'll notice I don't use the word and. When you're writing a check, you don't actually put the word and in. Okay? It's written exactly like that, so it's actually less writing for us. Here there's only one block of 3, so you would say 903, and that's what we would need to write, 900. around 3. Now in this case I did use the and. It's okay to use it, it's just how I said it out loud. I said 903, so I want to be consistent. So it's not wrong, you won't be marked wrong, it's just we try to avoid using the word and as much as possible. So here we have, and we may have to count this out, so that's 380. This next column is or next group of 3 is your thousands, your 1,000, 10, 100,000s up top. So that means we're into the millions. So hopefully you don't have to write a check for this anytime soon. So 1 million. Okay. The next block is 275, and it's in the thousands. So it'd be 275,000. And don't worry about spelling. I'm not marking spelling. So a comma. And finally, the last one's 380. 380. Oops, 300. Better do. I should try to spell things correctly. 380. All right. So there we go. So those are the skills that are needed in order to write our check. So here's some examples. So I have a couple of checks we need to write out here. So I think I have 2 examples. So how do you write a check? Up here, and I'll give you the rundown here. Up here will be your name and address. So when you get checks, if you don't already, name and address. All right, so that is already stamped right on the check. Here you need to do the date. In order for a check to be processed properly, you need to make sure the date is current and it's written correctly. In here on this line, we call it the payee. So who gets the money? So that's who goes in that. That's what goes on that line. And here is the number owed. So you actually write in the number. So if it's $500, you would write the number 500 in here. On this line, right here, we write in the actual written number. So the number, and I'll put number written in words for you for your note. So the number written in words. All right, so you write the number in words there, what we've been practicing. You should get in the habit of writing out your memo. So this is, what was it for? It's a good idea to put a jot note there. And here is your signature. All right, so all of those components need to be completed in order for a check to be used or check to be cashed. All right, so check has to have your name in the top corner, which it will, because you're going to buy the checks from the bank. You must have the correct date on your check. You must, as a number, write in the value. You need to write the person's name properly. You need to, and it's a requirement, you have to write out the money value in words. This is optional, the memo, but when you get older, you're going to find, keeping track of money, it's a good idea to write down what that check was used for. And finally, you must have a signature or the check cannot be cashed. So here's the example. Ethan owes Mr. Kindler $258.35 for some hockey cards. Help Ethan write his check. So, up in the top corner, it has his name already. So the date today, so you can pick whatever day you want. And most checks, you're just going to use a numeric date. And the numeric date goes by day, month, year. So let's say this is the first day of the 3rd month of 2013. Okay, so day, a lot of checks just have you do that, month, year, and that's how I want you to fill out your checks in the homework. Who am I paying to? So usually it's a good idea to put this line in here. And what you do is any space that you don't use on this line, you put a slash across, so something can't be added. All right? So it can't be Mr. Kindler, and then Tony finds this check and says, hey, and Tony, and put his name in there. By putting that line through, he can't claim that or add his name onto the check. So it's just a safety feature. Next, this is what Ethan paid for the hockey cards. So you put 258.35 in that box. And now we have to write that out in words. So we take the 258 is what we're going to write. So 258 is what we're going to write up here. So 200, so I always start it with a line. 258. Now we don't put the cents in words. We actually go across, and then you do a 35 out of 100. And a lot of checks will have out of 100, but I do know some checks, they don't come with this, so you just write it as that, okay? So for our checks, you're going to have to write this option, okay, at the end of it for any cents. Memo line, I want to keep it simple. I'm just going to put hockey cards. Now I need to sign it. So I'm Ethan, so and so, and there we go. You're all set. Okay, that is a fully filled out, properly completed check. So at some point in time, you are going to get some checks. So it becomes very important that you know how to fill them out properly, because checks cost money. And when you have to rewrite several checks, it does cost. So please keep that in mind. I will make sure in the homework you do them correctly.